Hello everybody, this is Reza Dorani, Microsoft Business Applications MVP. Today I'm going to cover a scenario that will enable you to convert your pbix files to pbit files in Power BI, and we will leverage the capabilities of robotic process automation in Power Automate, so this manual step can be done automatically. Now today, if I want to convert a pbix file to a pbit file, a pbix file is a Power BI desktop file, a pbit file is a template file. If I go to Power BI desktop and within Power BI desktop, if I go ahead and I open a Power BI desktop file, so let's say I open certifications.pbix. The only way I can convert this to a Power BI template file today is for me to manually open the Power BI desktop file, go to File, Export, Power BI template, provide a description, and then save it. So you have to go through these steps manually. There is no API available to convert this. Now this may be fine for one Power BI desktop file, but if you have hundreds of files, that might be a time-consuming process. So let's try and see if we can automate this process. In my scenario, in my D drive, I have a folder called PBI, and within this folder, I have two other folders, PBIX and PBIT. PBIX has all my Power BI desktop files, and PBIT will have all my Power BI template files. Now, the first step I'm going to do is I'm going to go to Power Automate, and within Power Automate, what we are going to do is we are going to go to, so let's go to powerautomate.com. Let's go to My Flows, and we will leverage the new type of flows that enable RPA, which is called UIflows. So I'm going to go to UIflows, click on New, and I'm going to pick on Desktop because we are working with a desktop application in this scenario. I am going to call this pbix to pbit. That's what my UI flow is going to do. The first step is for certain input parameters that I can pass to this UI flow so that later on I can pass values dynamically. I am going to create 4 variables. The first one is pbix files path. So I'm going to call this pbix files path, and the sample URL is going to be dpbi pbix. Next thing is going to be pbit files path, and this one is going to be dpbi pbit files path. Also, I'm going to pass in pbix file name and pbit file name. Now, because I want to just pass values initially as sample data, I'm going to pick certifications as one of my pbix files names, certifications.pbix, and let's say when it converts it should be certifications.pbit. I'm going to click on next, and this time I'm going to go ahead and launch the recorder. Now the recorder is going to go ahead and record all the steps that I manually take once I launch Power BI desktop. So I'm going to go ahead and actually start recording all these steps one by one. Once again, here's my scenario. I have a folder in my D drive called PBI. So we need to be aware of that. So I'm going to go ahead and click on record with the Power BI desktop application open. I'm going to click on open other reports. All of these clicks are now being recorded. I am going to select the search option on the top, Control A, backspace, because I want to clear it. And now I want to type in my path to my Power BI desktop file, which is d colon pbi/pbix. Hit enter. So this should take me to my Power BI X files. Now I can go ahead and pick a file, but what I really want to do is I want to search because I want to dynamically pass these values. So I'm going to go to the search box and I'm going to type certifications.pbix and then hit enter. This should go ahead and give me that file that I'm looking out for. And I'm going to look at the border around it. I'm going to pick the entire file. And then at the bottom, I'm going to click on open. So this is going to go ahead and open that Power BI desktop file for me. Next, I'm going to click on the file menu, click on the export option, click on the Power BI template option. I'm going to bypass the description. I'm just going to click OK. And finally, I need to store this. Now, once again, where do I want to store it? I'm going to click on the search results, Control A, backspace, and this time d:/pbi/pbit, because this is where I want to store it in my Power BI template folder. Now it comes up with the default file name. So I'm going to again select this, Control A, backspace, and I'm going to dynamically pass a file name to this. I'm going to call this certifications.pbit. Once I'm done with this, I'm going to click on save. This should go ahead and convert this Power BI desktop file to the Power BI template file. And I'm going to go ahead and click on X and don't save and stop the recorder. Now, if I head back to my Power BI template folder, you see here's my Power BI template file. Now, great. Now I did this manually, and of course, if I had to do this using the standard technique, I had to open each of these Power BI files and convert them to Power BI template files. So I'm going to delete this for now because I have the steps recorded and now I want to automate this process. Now, if I head back to my recording step in my UI flow, if I open this, each and every action that I took, and I took a lot of actions, have been recorded. So the first step is launching Power BI desktop, right? So it goes ahead and launches Power BI desktop. Then there is a left click action on open other reports. Okay. Then the next step was for me to click on this. Now, all of these steps have specific times defined, that is the amount of time I took. So I took 3 seconds. That's why PD3S. If I want to change this to like 1 second and speed up the process, I can actually go ahead and do this for every action. Okay. The next step was send keys. And what I did is I actually did a Control A so I can select the entire thing. Then I did a backspace so I can clear everything out. And then I actually put the path and I hit the enter key. So now what I'm going to do is after I hit this first backspace, that is when I selected everything and I did a backspace, I passed the path and finally I hit the enter key. So I'm going to delete all of this in between and I'm going to dynamically pass the path from the variables that I defined initially when I created my UI flow. Now, because this is pbix, I'm going to pass the pbix files path here. Okay. After we did this, we left clicked on the search action. Then again, we went ahead and we sent keys. This time we entered the name of the file that we want to search and I hit the enter key. Once again, I'm going to remove this hard-coded value and get the value from the variable called pbix file name. And the next step was we selected the element. Then after that, what we did is we clicked on open. And then after that, we went to Power BI desktop, went to file, all those steps are recorded right here, export. Then we went ahead and said, okay, Power BI template. Then we clicked on the OK button. And then after that, once again, we went to the search box. Now in this search box, we sent keys. Again, we did a Control A and a backspace. Then I defined the path to my Power BI template folder. And then I hit the enter key. So I'm going to remove this hard-coded path, right? And I am going to put in the pbit files path link or variable, which was the dynamic variable that we created. Okay. Then after that, we selected the file name and then once again, Control A, backspace and hard-coded the file name. Now I don't want to hard-code the pbit file name, but I'm going to pick this from the variable called pbit file name. Then we went ahead, clicked on save. We went ahead, closed the application, and then it also popped up that Power BI desktop file whether you want to save the changes or not, and we said don't save. So all of these things have got tracked. Each and everything has got recorded here, right? Every step has got recorded. Now if I hit next and if I hit next again, I can test this now with this scenario. So we can go ahead and test this, or I can just save and exit this scenario. Okay, ideally tested. I'm just going to go and save and exit for now because I'm trying to keep this video short. So I'm going to click on save and exit. So this is going to go ahead and save the UI flow. So it's got this steps tracked. Now the next step is I'm going to go back to my flows, and this time you can create an instant flow or a scheduled flow if you want to run this on a schedule, instant flow if you want to run this manually on demand, or any other trigger type that you want to define. In this scenario, I'm going to manually trigger this. I'm going to call this pbix to pbit conversion flow. It's the name of my flow. I'm going to create this flow. Now in this flow, the first step I want to do is I want to scan through or loop through all the files in this folder that I have defined. So what I'm going to do is if I look at the file system, there is a connector called file system. And over here, I have an option called list files in folder. So if I select this, of course, because I've already done this before, so I have a connection. If you don't, you will need to provide your credentials, and you also obviously need the data gateway. Once you have all those prerequisites met, you should be able to go ahead and define a folder right here in your file system. So in my scenario, I'm going to say, okay, this is my folder in my D drive, pbix has all my files, list all my files. So it will go through and list all my files. The next step I'm going to do is run and apply to each loop. Apply to each loop on what? On every file that I acquired from my folder. Now for each file that I get from this folder, what I want to do is I want to go ahead and convert each of these files into Power BI template files. So how would I do that? Let's search for UIflows, and under this connection or connector, there's an action called run a UI flow for desktop, because I built a desktop UI flow. I'm going to go ahead and choose my UI flow, which is pbix to pbit. And once I pick this, it will ask me for details. So what's my pbix folder path? This is it. What's my pbit folder path? This is it. Now, what's my pbix file name? Well, my pbix file name is going to be the name of the file or folder. That's the name that I got from here. And what's my pbit file name? Now, I can put additional things right here. Like, I can put the date timestamp and the file name .pbit or so on and so forth. So I have multiple options here the way I want to play with this. Okay, it's totally up to you. How would you like to name your files? Now in my scenario, if I just want to keep the name the same, right? If I head over to peak code, and this is a little bit of expression magic here, I'm going to copy this element, which has the name of the file in action. I'm going to go here, going to go to expression and use the replace syntax. I'm going to say replace in this string. I want to replace pbix, which is my extension. Basically, I'm going to replace this with pbit. That's it. I'm just replacing the name of the file, which is .pbix to .pbit. You can name this file the way you like it. Now, once I'm done with this, it's basically going to go ahead, trigger the UI flow and pass these attributes over. Okay, so let's go ahead and save this flow. And this time what I'm going to do after this flow has saved, I'm going to click on test and I'm going to manually run this flow. Okay, continue, run the flow, and it should trigger Power BI desktop, which it has. Power BI desktop should trigger now, and it should go ahead, and the first step is it should go and plug in the path on the top. So let's see this in action. Okay, now this is the path that I passed, which is the pbix file path. Now it should get the first file, which is certifications. It's picked it. It should go ahead and now select that file and open that file. Now notice that it's taking a bit of time for each and every step. This is because when I executed the steps, I took that much amount of time. You can speed that up by changing the runtime in UIflows. So far, so good. Going to export. Okay, should click on Power BI template. And this one should click on that OK button. And once it's done all of this, it should once again go to that search box and plug in pbit, which is the path of my pbit folder, and go ahead and save this. And now once it's done, it should go ahead and close Power BI desktop. Okay, so it actually did that, and this should repeat for the next one as well. So now if I head back to my D drive, Power BI template, here's my template file. And if I head back to my Power Automate, you'll see it's still running, and very soon we will notice that it actually goes ahead and triggers it should trigger the Power BI desktop again for a second time, and the whole process will repeat again. So all of this can be automated by using UIflows, and there you go, the Power BI desktop is triggered again. So in the interest of time, I'm going to keep this video short. So thank you so much for watching.